In this video, you're going to learn what you can do if you're an athlete dealing with anxiety before a game. Hey there, I'm Eli Straw, mental performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. Now, when you have anxiety before a game, what does this feel like? It probably feels like an extreme state of nervousness where you have those butterflies in your stomach, maybe your body begins to tremble a little bit. I was working with an athlete who said that whenever he goes into a game and he's dealing with a lot of anxiety, it feels like his body is not in his control. So I understand how frustrating this is in terms of trying to play your best when you're dealing with this anxiety because it almost feels like it's impossible. But the good news is there are certain strategies that you can use and tools that you can use to manage this anxiety. And so what I'm going to do is go through 4 different tips that you can use before a game and as the game starts to really work on reducing this sports performance anxiety. Tip number 1 is you want to accept and let go. Whenever you are dealing with performance anxiety going into a game, the worst thing that you can do is really focus on it and try to will it away. And I understand that in that moment, it's such an uncomfortable and frustrating and sometimes scary feeling that it's easy to focus on it because you want it to go away. But what you resist persists. So if you focus on that anxiety, you are just increasing your attention on the anxiety, you're making the anxiety worse. And to really overcome performance anxiety in sports, what we have to do is we have to change what you're thinking about. Because the reason that you're dealing with this anxiety in the first place is because you are worried about what's going to happen. That's really where we see the cause of anxiety in sports. It's that outcome-oriented thinking where you are thinking, how am I going to perform in this game? I hope I don't mess up. I hope I don't embarrass myself. I've got to perform well for my stats or to make sure that coach doesn't bench me. But all of those worries and all of those fears are only driving more anxiety. And so whenever you start to worry more and more about your anxiety, just know that you are making it worse. So you have to accept your anxiety, let go, and start working on changing what you're thinking about, changing what you're focused on. And that brings us to tip number 2, which is to focus more on your breathing. Whenever you're dealing with anxiety before a game, it's very easy for you to start breathing very shallow. But when you breathe shallow, your heart rate increases, so you feel more nervous. What you want to do is you want to work on taking control of your breathing. If you can take control of your breathing, that's really going to help calm yourself down. The act of taking deep breaths is going to help relax you. But where I've also found success with managing anxiety is by using count breathing, because when you use count breathing, where you breathe in for, let's say, a count of 5 and you breathe out for a count of 10, you're focusing on the numbers. So automatically, we see you start to focus less on the anxiety and more on something that's going to help you. So that's the second tip. You want to focus on your breathing and specifically do some count breathing. Tip number 3 is you want to remember some past successes. Whenever you're feeling anxious, your mind is flooded with images and thoughts of you messing up, of you failing, of you not performing well. Otherwise, you wouldn't be anxious if you weren't thinking about what's going to happen if I mess up. I have to perform well. And even that idea of I have to perform well, what's following that? I have to perform well or else. So what you want to do is you want to fill your mind with images and thoughts of you performing well. The best way you can do this is by remembering past successes. Just right before the game starts, when you're feeling that anxiety, just flood your mind with past successes. These can come from this past week in training and practice. It can come from a game you played last month or last year. It could come from the last game you played. But by remembering past successes, what you're doing is you are working to increase your confidence by taking control of what you're focused on, taking control of what you're thinking. Instead of thinking about ways that you could fail and embarrass yourself during the game, you're starting to think about all the times you've actually succeeded. And tip number 4 is you want to use a mantra. A mantra, or also known as a self-talk statement, is something you tell yourself to really help kind of change what you're feeling, because your thoughts are going to impact the way that you feel. Whenever you're using a mantra for anxiety, I encourage you to make it really focused on calming yourself down, increasing your confidence, but then also really controlling your focus. Because remember, your focus is driving your anxiety. If you're thinking about the outcome, you're going to be more anxious. So you want to focus more on the present moment. As you go into the game, you want to focus on the process. In addition to one mantra, you can create many mantras. And that's where we really start talking about a self-talk routine where you come up with a bunch of different self-talk statements you're going to say as you go into the game. So those are the 4 tips you can use to manage anxiety going into a game. You want to accept and let go. You want to make sure that you focus on your breathing, do some count breathing. You want to remember past successes, and you want to repeat a mantra or use a self-talk routine. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each day on sports psychology and mental training. Now, if you're interested in one-on-one mental performance coaching to help you with your performance anxiety, I put a link in the description below to the one-on-one coaching that I offer, so go ahead and click on that and check that out if you'd like. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of success in all that you do.